Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the M3 Market Update. My name is Melody Wright, and I do this show to give you context about the information we're getting out there for commercial and residential real estate against the backdrop of the global macroeconomy. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, February 26th. I'm going to do a little quick show and update for the data that we received today. We received new home sales. I was really looking forward to getting this number. And it was actually very interesting, the results. And so first, I'll just tell you what it was, and then I'm going to talk about this survey of construction. I'm going to talk about, what these numbers mean, but just, the market was expecting a 3% increase month over month. What came instead was a 1.5% month over month increase and a 1.8% year over year increase if you're looking at the seasonally adjusted numbers. And so hold on, I'll be talking about that in a second. And 8.3 months of supply if you look at the seasonally adjusted months of supply. Why you would need seasonally adjusted months. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, but for the non-seasonally adjusted numbers, quite a different story. Month over month, sales were up at 16.33% and year over year up 3.64% with 11 months of inventory out there. Median sales price, so that actually was up month over month about 1.81%. And but down year over year, negative 2.6%. So again, up month over month, just a little bit by 1.8%, but down year over year. Now, a couple of things about these numbers. So what do these numbers mean to us? Well, I think that everybody got super excited when rates went down at the end of last year, and they thought that everything was going to go gangbusters. Everybody was talking about increased traffic at the sites. By the way, I didn't see a lot of that increased traffic when I was out there on the road, but everybody was talking about it. The builders, when they responded to surveys to like Zelman, were talking about this increased traffic. What I wanted to know is, would this materialize into actual sales? Now, you may say, well, Melody, isn't this your evidence? You can look at the non-seasonally adjusted. It's up at 16%. Now, I believed we would see an uptick in sales. There's still people out there that have to transact. And as we know, the builders went absolutely insane with all kinds of incentives at the end of the year. I was getting email after email. I mean, they were giving away the kitchen sink. And so, of course, was going to be increased sales as the builders needed to move this product. But one thing everyone should be aware of is that how do they count sales? They count sales. Something is sold when someone signs that original purchase contract, not when the loan is underwritten if they're using a mortgage, but it's when they sign that contract. That then what we saw it hugely in 2022. We saw it this summer as well, but cancellations occur where, they can cancel that for any reason. Maybe they couldn't get the underwriting. Maybe they changed their mind when they got their insurance quote. We've heard a lot about that in Florida, people walking away from sales at the very last minute because they get that insurance quote. So these numbers are not absolute. They're not final. In fact, October and December were revised down from the previous months, what was reported. And so we have to take these with a grain of salt. These numbers don't change my mind about what's happening out there. And honestly, when you look at the sales distribution, almost 30% of the sales were between the price tag of $300,000 to $399,000. Okay, what does that mean? Most of the product out there, guys, that I've seen with my own eyes, in all of these subdivisions, almost 10,000 miles on the road now, probably more. They're all priced north of 400. And so my, sort of trajectory for even new home prices is, yes, we had this little uptick, which I think had to do with the mix of sales, just like it's happening on the existing home sales with that increased activity. But as the builders start to get more and more desperate, and that, all that increased activity because rates were coming down slows, then you're going to start seeing these prices come down again. And by the way, we don't have the by region breakdown, but I can tell you right now, in the cities that I track, prices are coming down. And in Florida specifically, they are coming down. And so, we're kind of in this muddy time where the data seems very confusing and very conflicting, but from my perspective, absolutely expected some increases in sales month over month. The question will be, do they actually really materialize? The way that we'll know that is how much inventory continues to build. And then I just want to step back and say another thing about this survey. So, whereas with NAR and our National Association of Realtors, or, what I'm tracking information on realtor.com, they're actually looking at sales data that gets entered into the MLS here. And this is transactional. So existing home sales, very transactional, the way that they track all that information. For new home sales, this is a survey. I'll repeat that. It's a survey. And guess who they ask? They ask the builders. And so as we've seen those revisions come down for the prior months, I 100% believe we're going to see revisions next month, and we're likely going to see home prices, those new home prices come down as well. Now, even if we don't have significant revisions, this doesn't at all concern me. With existing home sales so low, everybody is going to new home sales. So that, looking for shelter because they're getting those buy downs, they're getting a really good deal. But I think what's happening out there in the marketplace is, even though people are expecting rate cuts, that's kind of slowed down in terms of everybody's expectation. And by the way, guys, for it to materially impact the housing market, rates would significantly have to come down. And so I think what we're seeing out there is, yet again, still evidence that the builders are able to affect those price changes or those price decreases for people by doing the buy down, by giving incentives, and making other types of concessions, where in the existing market, you are actually starting to see increases in price reductions. In fact, in my cities, month over month, 26% increase in houses with a reduction in prices. So this is starting to accelerate on the existing home market side as well. So, interesting data out there today. I think there's some crazy interpretations going out there. I find it really curious. Some of the, what I would call the shills are out there who really argue that home prices are only going to go up. They continue to want to negate the importance of the new home market, which historically it used to be about 12% of all transactions. It is now 30%. And I have a feeling by the time we get to 2025, it's going to be even more than that. And so this is not something to be ignored. And I find it curious that they want to ignore it. But the trajectory, in my opinion, prices are going to come down because you're seeing the largest transactions, so either right there in the middle or at the higher end. And so in order for the builders to keep this momentum going, they're going to have to bring those prices down. And so, interesting data doesn't change the trajectory, but you're starting to, there's a lot of great detail out there for both existing and new homes to look at the product mix of what's being sold. And as I think I talked to you guys, but definitely talked about it in my Substack, on the existing home sales side, you could see large percents in that $1 million plus category of what's being transacted out there. Because I firmly believe, if you have the discretion to just go out there willy-nilly and buy, it's typically those that probably are feeling a little richer because they're Nvidia stock. Those in the higher, 20%, but your regular folks, I think those guys are the ones that are really going after those new builds, and they're doing it because they need that rate buy down. They need those lower prices. But what I can say for sure is that most of the product out there is priced north of 400. So it's going to be very interesting. Again, you just can't get too invested with month over month data, and really any of this data at the moment, especially around new homes, because it's all based on a survey. And as we know, the responses to surveys have come down since the pandemic. And so they're not completely reliable. So anyway, hope you guys like this quick little video talking about new home prices. I hope to do at least one more video a week where I do this, just focus on the data that we've got or any interesting news articles. But happy Monday, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay frosty, stay strong. I can tell a lot of people are starting to buckle under this weight of uncertainty. I mean, I can feel it. I can feel it out on social media. I'm getting it in email as well. People are just so sick of waiting, and they've stopped believing that, kind of economic fundamentals will work. But the question I would have everyone ask is what is going to happen out there to increase everyone's wages to the point that they could afford what's out there? And by the way, a lot of people are so behind, they need some kind of bonus to get caught up. So that is the only way, that or prices have to correct. And so if you can think of something out there, guys, would love to hear it, that you think could happen to increase wages at a pace and scale that would be impactful enough for everybody to be out there, or the majority of Americans to go out and buy these homes priced where they are today. Please leave a comment, let me know. But as always, you can find me on Twitter at M3_Melody, MELODY, M3 Melody Substack, and on here on YouTube. So it's still Monday. Okay. Happy Monday. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great week ahead, and talk to you soon.